We are at the Impact 2021 Sales Conference in Santa Barbara at the Ritz-Carlton. It has been crazy cool. We have had 3 amazing keynotes. They apparently had some amazing breakouts, but they didn't have enough room, and I got there late, so I didn't get to go to any of them.
You can have my
And so, but I'm sure they were all terrific. So we're doing a little bit of video interviews, and we have this brand new partner called Senior Sign. And I'm working on them about their name, I gotta tell you, because it sounds like they do signs and stuff. But I will tell you, these guys are the best, yeah, no you don't. These are the best storytellers. We're gonna have some fun here. That's not what they do. So why don't you guys introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Yeah, I am Neil Krauss, and for Senior Sign, what I do is I founded the company, and I am the Chief Experience Officer. So I design product and work with developers and work with communities.
Yeah. I'm Jared Hancock, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer. So I'm relatively new to the company. I've been here for about a year. But yeah, so Neil and I have been good friends for several years, and I came on board a little late, but have had a blast this year to building the business.
We work with move-in paperwork. So we always say paperwork stinks, and so which it does. Everybody hates that process. Oftentimes, when we're hearing a bunch at this conference that sales and marketing managers are just buried in paperwork with each new move-in. And so years ago, I had a director of sales and marketing that I was in her community talking with her about a potential product, and she said, "That's great, but can you put our paperwork online?" And I figured that was probably something worth exploring, so I did, and so we went down that avenue, and it's even grown a little further. So it started out with kind of electronic signature, hence the name Senior Sign. We don't build signs. So it started with electronic signature, expanded into attachments and physician fax, and now we're getting into more of the offline processes around move-in as well. So more like a workflow manager, as Jared likes to say, thankfully.
So I guess my first question is why don't I just use Docusign?
You get that one.
Yeah, we get that question a lot. Really, the way that I explain it is Docusign is a very small portion of actually what we do. Getting the signatures, we talk to a lot of sales and marketing managers, and they say, getting somebody to just sign a paper is actually really easy. What's difficult is when you have to coordinate between multiple different parties, internal, external, doctors, physicians, pharmacies, and be able to collect all of that information. And a lot of times what we see is they'll send out a packet of information, a packet of documents to sign. They'll come back out of order. Some things won't be filled out correctly. We've also heard a lot of people say that they do use Docusign, and the issue is they still get sent out as individual attachments. And so what ends up happening is they've moved the same complexity of paperwork, and they've just moved it into the email box for the future resident and for the adult children. And so our product does much more than that. It actually is a central place for all parties to be able to watch and track through the new resident and make sure that they're staying on track to be able to get the new resident in on time.
Well, and I would just sort of say personally that we use Docusign occasionally when we're working with Senior Living FORESIGHT sponsor partners.
Yeah.
And they're very simple documents. And you know what? It still sucks. It's really, it is.
It works great for that, but that's fine.
No, I mean, ultimately it works okay, but we find a lot of times people have trouble accessing, or the emails don't go out, and so clearly, I guess if you have a single document, probably you should go do that. But I will tell you that when my mom moved into an assisted living community in California, a small one, I spent 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Going through this stack of paperwork, and it was terrible.
That's
I had
quick.
to be there,
30 minutes is pretty
and I don't want to get my guy in trouble, but it's like, just sign this, don't read it, just sign it, which is what I did, and really what most people probably do, right? Even with your great system. But
well, I walked into a community the other day, a few weeks ago, and we were there to meet with the executive director and the owner, and we walked in with the sales and marketing manager, and her office was covered in binders and stacks of paper. Yeah. She was correlating all of the different papers, and I thought, like, quick, get a picture, because this is exactly what we're trying to eliminate. Like, such a hassle. And that's just the front end part. That's not even getting it signed. That's just compiling it, putting it in a binder, putting the resident name on it, and making sure that, you're handing it to them out the door, and then you get it back, and it's all disheveled and out of order.
She said one day a month. That's one day a month that she spends trying to build packets.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. The entire day.
Yeah. And you got to print all that stuff or copy it. And man, okay. So, so I've actually looked at some of these other products like this, and one that we looked at, it was really cool, but there were two things about it that were kind of a high barrier to entry. Mm-hmm. The first was that it was pretty expensive. Mm-hmm. And the second one was partly because it was so expensive, they had to have 50 buildings in order to do it. So if I have a single building, will you guys, or am I too small?
No, you're great. We work with plenty of single buildings. We'll even work with single buildings in a larger portfolio of buildings. So we've got a few of those where we're in 2 or 3 across a larger company. No building's too small. Actually, with COVID, we changed from kind of a base price model just per month, per location, with a additional care type add-on fee, to more of just a really kind of maintenance price and then a price per move-in, so that we had several companies call and say, we're not admitting anybody or moving any new residents in. Can we just pause this for 4 months? Mm-hmm. So, we're not even using it, but we're going to pay for this. And so it kind of made us sit and readdress, maybe we're pricing, how can we better price for the community? So we kind of transitioned over that way.
Cool. So, do you have any stories about people who've started using it and how it's changed their lives?
Yeah, we've met with a lot of our communities as we've been looking at new features and how do we want to develop the product. And, obviously we want to stay as close to our customers as we possibly can. And one of the questions that we ask is, okay, if Senior Sign were to be taken away, what would you do? And sort of across the board, one of the common themes is I would quit. I wouldn't go back to the way that I used to do it with all the paperwork. It would drive me crazy. And so we started seeing, okay, this product is actually solving a real problem, to the point that they literally are saying, I can't do my job without this. It's providing that kind of value. And so we know we're on the right track. And as we're exploring these new features and how do we continue to develop it, we're excited to see how we can become even more integral into that process of our job.
Yeah. So the other thing I hear that I really like from you guys is that you haven't built a product and said this is good enough. You've built a product and said this is where we're going to start. Now let's go make it even better.
Yeah. Currently we're neck deep in I'm neck deep in code.
You're the product guy.
Code and design and all of those things. And we've got so many great feature ideas as we talk to communities and, somebody says, well, can it do this? And if it can't, or if I'm trying to kind of craft a way to do that, I did so many of the customer success calls. Being the early founder, it was me on the phone with a lot of people. I got so many great ideas. Tell me more about that process. And being brand new to senior living, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when this was starting, I was asking a lot of questions because I really didn't understand. I don't have the background like you or others have. And so, I've been neck deep in it and learned a ton. So, we are constantly looking to expand the product based on what our customers are asking for. And sometimes the idea is the most recent one is where we're turning it into this workflow management. We kept seeing these checklists of, hey, here's our move-in checklist. Can we just put this in there? And the residents don't see it. We just need to work our way through it. Keys made and a new nameplate for the door and carpets cleaned and paint, et cetera. And so implementing all of those processes and how do we do some of that is kind of where we're headed.
Cool. So we are about out of time. I just want to sort of say this one thing. If you love paperwork, if you love having people tied up doing paperwork and managing all that stuff and chasing people, don't talk to these guys. If you think paperwork is terrible, which I know is most of you, this is a product you should check out. It'll make your life easier. We talk a lot about the staffing challenges. This is one of the ways to make your staffing challenges just a little bit better.